Whew, that's a good chat. So shall we now move into our cyberpunk impressions deep dive?
Cyberpunk.
Levan. Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk.
So, oh my goodness. Oh, where to start with Cyberpunk? Seriously, I've been playing it pretty much since the midnight launch. I stayed up. I got a few hours sleep, but I played it at midnight, and I chose to go the Nomad class because
Nomad. Okay.
I wanted the Fast and Furious like backstory. You know, I'm
Mhm.
like I'm a desert born kind of thing.
All
I'm
about the family. Gotcha.
bit of a road warrior, all about family, and yeah. So I picked the Nomad, and so let's get the cyber elephant out of the room. This is not the game that we should have got. And what I
No,
mean
no.
by that is, I know that sounds like a loaded phrase. I'm just talking about the presentation in terms of the graphics and the like the bugs. The everything else, the writing, the characters, the world of Night City, the way in which it organically feeds you missions and you're exploring the world is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And for that, I am absolutely loving the game. But it is so blurry. It is so soft. It is
Mm.
so filled with bugs that I'm overlooking that to get into what I'm enjoying about the game, and that is the story, it is the characters, it is being able to hack people, it is the gun mechanics, it's the driving mechanics. They are all fantastic, but the game just looks like at times like a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era game.
Oh wow.
It can look really rough, but then you'll get moments where the game can look really good. Now, for full disclosure, I'm playing this on Xbox Series X, and it's not the Xbox Series X version. The PlayStation 5 version, the Series X versions, they are not out yet. They're coming at some point next year. We don't know when, but I really hope that they get them out soon. What we're getting today is essentially the last generation version for PS4, for Xbox One, playable via the backward compatibility on the new systems with now because of those new systems you are getting a bit of a performance bump. So the
Yeah.
SSD means the loading is super fast, so that's great. You're getting a little bump in like frame rate performance, a little bit of bump in graphical performance, but it's still a backward compatible title. And because of that, it can be extremely disappointing for anybody expecting this is the future of open world games, the future of technology which can be done with video games. And if you have a PlayStation 4 base or a Pro console or an Xbox One base or One X Pro console, I would say do not go near this game. It is just a travesty of tech and bugs and potato mode. I've seen
Mm.
footage of that, and you've seen footage of that as well. But I'm
Yeah.
playing on Series X, and it can actually look really good. For the most part, it can look really good, and for the most part, it runs really well. And what is interesting is the Series X has a quality mode and a performance mode, whereas right now the PlayStation 5 does not have a quality mode. It only has a performance mode, which is really bizarre. So I'm playing on quality mode on the Series X, and it can actually look really nice at times. For like the majority of the time, it can actually look really good. But it's capped at 30. It feels pretty stable at 30. So therefore, my experience is actually really good. And you're getting a little bump in graphical quality as well. But it's not anywhere near the PC experience, which is what we're all expecting for these next gen consoles.
It's not even
And
close.
it's not even close. So what I'm actually going to do is, as we're talking about it, I'm actually going to play the some PC footage because this is what we should be getting, folks. This is what we should be getting.
The Cyberpunk I expected.
Yeah.
You know.
So when the proper next gen version comes out, I'm expecting it to be damn near close to this. And it's not anywhere near there yet, but it does look good. That's the thing. I don't want to like crap on it like crazy because it can look really good.
Yeah.
But it does feel like a last generation game that shouldn't have come to last generation. Now,
I think just speaking on Cyberpunk, and I'd obviously the disappointment is it's completely understandable,
yeah,
considering the game was announced back in 2013.
Yeah.
and it's there's a storied history behind this game's development. This game's been a long time coming for
Yeah.
some people. Between this game's development time, kids have become adults,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Li-
Yeah.
Literally, yeah. Like, yeah, we've become older people. So it's like the disappointment is so understandable. Especially when they've hyped it up so much. They've given so much expectation
Yeah.
on what the game is and what it can be. And I think maybe where they could have fallen short is, there's nothing wrong with having a vision,
Yeah.
but then there's a difference between, what is doable and what is a bit too much.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
that's the case with Cyberpunk, where you know the game, just based on what they've shown and the environments and the characters and the things you can do and all the different factions, and like there's so much to this game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think at, with that type of vision, that was only really possible in a high quality state with the PC version.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
because obviously playing games on PC, there's just many more options to do loads of different things.
Yeah.
Where console, you're locked down to specific architecture. You need to work within those boundaries.
Yeah.
Personally, when the game started getting more promotional material with the Night City wires and etc., I didn't really see this running on base hardware.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me. It's like,
There's no
that
way.
doesn't
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
no way. It doesn't work. Like, you want the game to be this.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to work on a base PS4, which I also have as well. So I think it's like I think essentially they just they did The Witcher 3, everyone loved it, and they just tried to overachieve
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
In some cases, they really didn't need to,
Yeah.
but I get it. Just obviously as creatives, you always want to put out. You don't want to just hit the line. You want to go right above it. And
Yeah.
I think that's where Cyberpunk got hit really hard, especially when it came to delays, and then it came to everything surrounding crunch and all of that stuff. And I think that's where it kind of dropped, where the PC version, like, development's going smooth because they could do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
It's not have any problems. But when it comes to the console version, I think it's difficult because I can't really just say that, they should have dropped the base versions, because they announced it at a time where the base versions just came out,
Yeah.
literally just came out.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what's so heartbreaking about it for anybody who had pre-ordered this on PlayStation 4, expecting like a really good experience. At a minimum, the visual quality of Witcher 3, like at a minimum base, you're expecting that, and then you get something that looks just so bad on base PlayStation 4, base Xbox One, it's a travesty, and I think it's going to do serious damage to the reputation of CD Projekt Red. I mean, we're looking at max level PC footage here. This is the Digital Foundry analysis, which is stunning, and
it looks incredible. Yeah,
and they put up a spec sheet at the beginning of their video, and you can see what I think it was John at Digital Foundry that was doing this analysis. He was rocking an RTX 3090 for this. And that graphics card is way over £1,000.
yeah.
I know he had put together a PC for the best possible Cyberpunk experience, and it shows. It looks incredible. It's very clearly, this is where graphics tech is. This is the future of graphics tech for sure, because it looks incredible. But the fact that they had to rein it in so much for base hardware, it's just not even worth putting it out on that. And it's such a shame, because you can't say, okay, we're now going to pull it from base, from last generation consoles, when an install base of 100 million consoles are out there. But it is a game where it's Crisis all over again.
Oh yes,
Right.
Yeah.
This is the Crisis. Like, can your machine run it? Can it run Crisis? Can it run Cyberpunk? And I honestly feel that CD Projekt should have only ever announced it for PC first, and then next year, bring it to the Series X, PlayStation 5, and say, look, it's just way too demanding for hardware of, which is 7-8 year old hardware now for the base
Yeah,
consoles.
absolutely. And with I mean, to be fair, and I guess not to be fair, actually. Obviously, The Witcher 3 came out with a lot of problems as well. And
It
in
did.
the long term, that got fixed. So that's
Yes.
not to say that CD Projekt Red, by Jan, Feb 2021, that Cyberpunk will be running exactly as it was supposed to. Um, but again, it's like the problem here is that the game was announced or revealed. It went dark for such a long time until
Yeah.
maybe about the previous year or so when things started ramping up
Yeah.
again. Every Night City wire they showed was all PC footage.
Of course. Yeah.
So that just raised expectations immensely.
Yeah.
Console footage they showed weeks before launch or
Yeah.
supposedly.
Yeah.
So pretty close to when people actually wanted to start playing the game.
Yeah.
So I think just all of it's just been a bit of a mess. Like, yes, I believe just like with The Witcher, they will eventually have it all fully optimized, working to the experience that they did expect. But I think just their development cycle was a bit of a mess. They maybe tried to go too big on their vision
Yeah.
with the game, and that obviously in turn impacted the hardware they were trying to release it on.
Yeah.
So many little different bits and pieces, and
Yeah.
obviously in their instance as well, the game was delayed twice. Yeah.
It was only twice. Okay. Yeah, because they never had a release date until they announced it for this year, and then it got delayed twice this year.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it was supposed to come out in April or something like that.
Yeah.
Then they moved it to November, and then
Yep.
they moved it to December. So it was delayed as well on top of that. And obviously I honestly think that it came to a point where they're like, okay, we want to do X, Y, and Z, so let's just delay it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they came to another point. It was like, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Let's just delay it. Instead of just like, okay, we're going to cap it here because we actually need to put out the best experience we can on time. So now what's happened is that they have their fingers in so many pies at once that they aren't able to get all the pies tasting as amazingly as each other. So, so now they released all their pies, and some of their pies taste like crap, which is unfortunate. Some of the pies taste like crap. Some of the pies taste like amazing pies.
Yeah.
And obviously, just because of the way the business works, and investors pressurizing them, and them having to hit certain numbers during specific quarters,
Yeah.
the game had to come out. Bugs and all. Like, it did not matter. I'm assuming according to the higher ups, this is
Yeah.
the last time the game needs to come out because these are the numbers we need to hit during these specific quarters. This needs to be done. So from a business aspect as well, it didn't help him out either.
Yeah. Totally.
So
totally.
just the whole thing has
It's-
been a huge mess.
It's a thing where we don't typically like to put so much emphasis on like the graphics make a game good. We try to kind of not go down that rabbit hole, but for a game like this, it is so visually powerful, so visually striking that to get something which, I mean, look at the reflections in this freaking glass here.
Amazing.
So that's your high-end ray tracing reflections going on there. To not have something that is so eye-poppingly beautiful as an opening salvo to, this is next generation gaming, guys. This is the future of not just CD Projekt Red's open world technology, but also this is what open worlds can be. This is what open worlds can deliver for next generation.
Absolutely.
And all the systemic stuff within the game is so good. I'm playing a lot of side stuff. I'm playing the main stories, and the way in which it's all delivered to you is fantastic. But I am looking at the game thinking it looks like I'm playing an old game. Visually, it looks like an old game, and it's broken as shit as well. I've had so many bugs where dialogue prompts would stay on the screen, and they would and the dialogue would progress, but the dialogue prompt would still be on the screen, and I can even still select it, even when other dialogue prompts that are supposed to appear later in the mission are cascading downward to progress the mission, but the top dialogue option to start the mission is still there. So I clicked on that mid mission, and it did this really weird like rewind during the game to like to the start of the mission. But then characters that had already delivered their lines of dialogue, or they brought an object into the room as part of that mission, had it flowed, that had already been done, but the main people had rewound to the start of the mission. And it was so weird and so broken. But I just reloaded the checkpoint, and it fixed everything, and that tends to do it quite a lot. You just reset a checkpoint. But again, it's these things that are broken that break the immersion, because you are very easily drawn into this world and you're fully immersed in it. And then something happens that completely breaks, and you think, oh, I'm not in Night City, I'm in my room playing this game. And it's just so frustrating and disappointing. But saying that, I love the story so far. I love the writing. The quality of the writing is really high so far. It's really entertaining. I am constantly engaged with the characters and the world, and that's why I'm constantly playing it. But I wish I was getting this experience, is the thing, and I really do. But I will also say a big shout out to the first person mode. So the game is entirely first person, and people pre-release were saying, well, what's the point of that? What's the point of having a great character customization if I never see my character? And I will say to that, there are moments where you can easily see your character. There's obviously like photo mode where you can bring the camera out, you can see your full character. There's moments in the game where you can just like look in a mirror, you see your character. But I stand by the first person mode for everything, because there's no cinematics in this game. It is all entirely first person viewpoint, all playing out in real time. So there's never a break. And because of that, characters are always talking directly at you, but you could be looking around at other things, and what would normally be a cinematic moment, you could be like looking around in real time. You've got full control of your character, and it's all playing out, and you can look directly at them, you can look around a scene, and it is immersive in a way that very few RPGs have been able to get me as immersed for the dialogue and stuff. And I'm really, really enjoying it at the end of the day. For all its flaws, for all its broken bits, for all its at times potato graphics, you'll get a flash of brilliance. You're thinking, oh my god, this is so good. And a lot of that comes down to the writing and the way the NPCs react to you. My nomad kid, when I first got to Night City, I had an apartment. I left my apartment for the first time, and it was a bit of a time jump from the very opening of the game to me being in Night City. So I'm obviously, like, flash forward 6 months, I'm a bit of a mover and shaker within my local apartment complex of crime and stuff like that. And I walked out of my apartment, and NPCs were like shouting my name, and like they knew me, and they were talking to me like a character, not like a typical NPC bot that you typically get in video games. So there's this level of craft and immersion which is fantastic, but it's just so broken at the moment as well, which is really a really shame. But I'm so enjoying it despite all of this, and it ultimately comes down to how much do bugs really bother you. Can you overlook a lot of stuff to still find what you love about a game and still persevere, or should you just like not touch it until the proper optimized next gen version comes out? And I can see that recommendation being a really strong recommendation for a lot of people. It's like, don't touch it until the next gen version comes out. I'm still going to keep playing it because I'm really enthralled by the mechanics of the game, by the writing of the game, by the characters, by the way in which you pick up jobs and you go investigate the world. And oh my god, the shooting mechanics in this game are, for an RPG, the shooting mechanics are really strong.
Nice.
they're really like snappy. You know how usually like if it's an RPG, shooting is usually a bit garbage,
Yeah.
but in this game it feels really good. It's not like Call of Duty like FPS controls, but it is. It's if the weapon sounds are so beefy, and the hit detection of the characters is really good. The snappiness of aiming down sights and shooting and moving feels really good. It is quite accomplished in that regard, and driving feels great as well. The cars have some good physics there. They're a little bit floaty, but they feel like they've got weight to them, which I love. I was playing Watch Dogs Legion for a little bit a couple of weeks ago, and the vehicle mechanics in that game are straight up garbage because the cars are so light, and it just feels horrible to control. Whereas Cyberpunk, the car mechanics, the vehicle mechanics are really good. I'm really enjoying just driving around Night City and seeing the sights and seeing all these neon lights and just trying to learn the city. So in that regard, what they've crafted is something quite incredible, but it's so broken, and it should look way better than this. And that is the problem with it. It's this yin and yang of all this great stuff, but man, there's all of this really bad stuff as well. So it's a tough recommendation for anybody. I would say if you're on base hardware, don't go near it. If you're or last gen, any of the last gen machines, just don't touch this game. It's not for those systems. It's just not.
Not until they fix it, at least.
Well, I don't even know how much they can actually fix. Is the problem, because it's so ambitious. There's only going to be so much that 7-year, 8-year-old hardware can actually do. And the fact that they don't have these high-end SSD hard drives to stream in the world, I just don't know if it's going to be possible to deliver this at anywhere near what's expected for base hardware.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, because I know for me especially, if I was to play a game like this and things were breaking left and right, it would 100% ruin it for me. I would not jump back in. But and obviously, like you mentioned, obviously rightly so, that everything should be working as it is. So, I mean, why should you have to restart a checkpoint for the game to do what it's supposed to do? And I think and I'm not like making up excuses for CD Projekt Red, but I think just the whole development cycle just didn't allow them the time necessary to really jump in and sort these bugs out.
I think so. And 2020, the pandemic as well, this year, it does strike me that they should have just, like when they delayed it for the second time this year by a month, they should at that point they should have just said, look, it's not coming out this year. It's just impossible. We're delaying it. Or just focus purely, like release the PC version. Just say, okay, we're going to release a PC version this year, and we just need more time to deliver on those other consoles. Because I mean, there's 6 console platforms they need to code for, and 4 of which are all like, there's 2 versions of PlayStation 4, there's 2 versions of Xbox One, then there's PlayStation 5, and then there's Xbox Series X. Actually, 7, and then there's Xbox Series S as well. So there's 7 console platforms. They should have just said, okay, it's coming to consoles summer next year, summer 2021. And it'll be what you've seen, or close to what you've seen. And right now it is, we're really pushing PC hardware, but we just need more time for those other consoles. And it's a shame for anybody who bought this on launch day for their base Xbox One S, which is like the worst performer, expecting something that does look reasonably sharp at the very least, and they've got something which is just pretty horrific. I really feel for those gamers.
It's a shame, because this was supposed to be that game, It's supposed to be the game. That was like, Joe, this is the next, especially after The Witcher 3, right? And considering that considering what happened with that, and and obviously they did all the free DLC, eventually that turned out to be one of the best games that they've done. right? And the one thing I don't really understand with these devs, right? When they create games like this and they have a game where it does come out and there are issues, right?
Yeah.
That they don't try to reset and refocus and ensure that doesn't happen on their next release.
Yeah.
But essentially, the same things happened again,
Yeah.
which really confuses me, and
It's frustrating for sure.
it's incredibly frustrating. I think, obviously, I'm sure the devs are just as frustrated
Yeah.
that the game is not up to snuff. But, you know, uh, and yeah, they possibly could have just delayed it again, to the dismay of a lot of people who are super excited about it. But for a game like Cyberpunk 2077, I personally believe that no matter when it comes out, people are still going to buy it. Like, regardless, people are still going to be super hyped about it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a real shame because this was supposed to be the 10 out of 10 game,
Yeah.
the marquee CD Projekt Red game,
Yeah.
the game that they touted for a decade. Probably, like, when we saw it, it was about 8 years, but probably
8
well
years
over
ago.
a decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just didn't reach that heights. But hopefully, as within the next 12 months, they fix the game, they fix the visual issues, they fix the mechanics, the next gen versions come out as well. And I'm sure they're going to throw a whole bunch of free DLC and stuff. It will get back up to that point.
Yeah.
But it should never have been at the low point to begin with.
No, exactly. 100% agree, man. And for all of those problems that I've mentioned, I'm still really enjoying the game. That is testament to like all the other parts that I'm focusing on.
Absolutely.
When you just think, oh my god, why does it look so soft? Why is the image just not so pin sharp? Especially when you, and I know you can't compare developers. You just
Yeah,
can't.
of course.
But when you see something like Red Dead Redemption 2 playing on last gen machines, that game is a technical powerhouse.
Yes.
And I know the technology is totally different. I understand that. And what CD Projekt Red are pushing technology wise with this game is technology that is geared for the next generation, like the future tech. And it's just a shame that as we said, it's like crunch time investment for specific platforms is just not been there. That's what I think, which is a real travesty because when you're running around, when the game is really clicking, it is heading close to that 10 out of 10 experience. I'm thinking, my God, this is the Blade Runner game I've been hoping for.
Oh, God,
It's like Deus Ex, is Blade Runner, it's
Absolutely.
the Cyberpunk experience, future world, hacking people, hacking different like technology. The upgrades for your character are awesome, but there's so much broken with it, and it's just a real travesty. But I'm really loving the story. I'm loving so much about it, despite of all of these flaws. But it's just such a shame that this is the way it launched, and this is what people are talking about. We're talking about everything that is wrong with it, the condition of the game, rather than like everything that is so spectacular about the game. And it's a real shame because of that. A real shame.
It is, because it should be much better than that. And I would just say, obviously, in this case, that, fact of the matter is, like, even if you are going to be playing the game now, you're still going to enjoy it regardless, right? You're still going to have fun with the game. If you can't wait, then just jump right in. You're still going to have good fun. Once things get fixed up, you have those different life paths. You could always start a different one on your next playthrough and re-experience that again for the first time.
Yeah.
But as mentioned before, if it's something you can wait on until some more fixes are in place, till the game's running better, or even until the next gen patches are ready,
Yeah.
then wait it out.
Yeah, 100%. And also do check out the Digital Foundry videos properly in your own time. That's what we've got playing in the background here. Their deep dive analysis of this is the PC version maxed out, but they've also got specifically PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro videos up on their channel, and they're going to be doing like the Xbox Ones and the next gen system analysis as well. So check that stuff out as well, because it is, in a situation like this, it's incredibly vital to really get an understanding of what you're getting when you buy the game.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's best to see it first